Hi, Carol here. A very warm welcome to my craft room, or like the title said, an oh so cool welcome to my craft room. So I thought I'd take you just on a little venture here on how I decide to prepare a card that is not it's not a girly girl card. I thought I would make it for a little boy actually, and a birthday card. So I thought that'd be kind of cool. Yes, and so I was either thinking fish tank shaker, but I have been doing shaker cards for what? Whoops, Carol, grab that. Yeah, you don't want to lose any of your dies. And I love this cardstock or that plastic that you can use as background for water. It's called Vertigo plastic, and you get sheets in different patterns. I got that in Buffalo some time ago, long time ago, and I've had it in my stash. And I was going through my stamp sets and decided on this penguin, and I needed to make an igloo. So I grabbed 3 sheets of paper towel, fold it in half. You want to spray it with some water so that it will hold your stencil. And I thought this brick stencil would be awesome because it would kind of give you the feel of an igloo. So I put it on top of here, and then you want to put your magnetic, that I used a magnetic platform because that's what's on my vagabond. Know exactly what to use on your machine. For me, having the magnetic platform, and then I have a thin magnetic cover over that, and I'm going to show you how I set it up here to get a beautiful indent on any embossing folder. I love this technique. The water helps it as well to add the pressure. And then I only used 1 plate. I took the green plate off. I did not sandwich it with 2 plates. I just put it down, the paper down, and then the stencil, and then the clear plate, and ran it through my vagabond. And you can see how beautiful it is. And whatever, yeah, no green plate. I didn't need to sandwich mine, but you will see once you lift it up. And I don't have anything taping it down. It is just add some water, and it'll add the sticky to your stencil that you need when you run it through, and you will love it. It works. I've got other tutorials up where I have used it for many ideas, such as you can use a stencil that looks like clouds and put it in the air. Get that poofy texture that you need. I hate to use this, but the sky's the limit on all you can do with your stencils by putting either toilet tissue, folding it over and over and over again, or paper towels. Either or work beautifully. I ran a little strip of the Nouveau cream there on the top, spritz some water on it, and I'm going to mix it up like a paint paste. And I'm going to apply it just on the edges of some of the bricks. I wanted to make it look cold and like an igloo. So I thought this blue, being a turquoise color, would add that coolness, if I might say again, to this birthday card. And I wanted to do it, I don't know, just to keep it. You can use it for a boy or a girl for a little birthday, and you'll see that later on. I also want to say in here, I also want to say that, see to the right there with the grass, these are, yeah, that's a Nouveau. These are the 4 cards that I made out of a 12 by 12 sheet and cut it up. I'm going to leave that at the end of the tutorial for you to go over and see how I made these cards. The one card was the lighthouse, and now I'm working on the second one. That one on the right with the grass, I already have a project prepared to do for that card. I don't know, I shouldn't have left it in there, but these are the 4 different cards I prepared out of a 12 by 12 inch layout. And that tutorial will be at the end. Remember, I said I was going to cut it out so you didn't have to go through that whole video to see how to make 4 cards out of one 12 by 12 layout. So you can check that out at the end, and we'll continue here. If you find that you don't get the indent you want on your stencil, just add either another paper towel or a sheet of typing paper, and it should be enough as this is when you see it at the end. And after we get it completely, all the liquid on it that we need, I'll show you how to keep it all together so it doesn't separate itself, because it is paper towels on this. To get some added weight on my stencil here, I grabbed some Dreamweaver embossing paste. This is the Dreamweaver translucent. It goes on white, but it dries nearly to a clear, which is nice because you can see the blue through it. And it's just mainly to give me some of that texture. And like I said, I love it translucent because it gives you that ice effect that you want to have on an igloo, that I wanted to have on it. So I just remove it to see. And while you're doing this, don't worry about the paper towel drying and separating. We will take care of that at the end. I'll show you how to remedy that. Just keep working. If it stays together, just keep working. Now, I'm just cleaning off the stencil because I do need another sheet. So after I blow this dry, and look at the abuse it's taking, it really does. If you have it wet enough, like, you know, damp, not wet, just damp when you run it through your die cutting machine, it will stay together for you. And if you find it separating, mist it again, and it'll work beautifully. Now, I ran it through already, and I have two sheets that look identical to this cut off. And now we're going to move forward on the bottom layer that we put the Nouveau on right here. So I had this little strip left over from cutting it up, and I'm going to cut out the little bricks. Yes, just what I did was I took my time, cut them out, used my Nouveau glue. And this is, of course, for the dimension that I want to get. And I want it to look not so uniform, like an igloo, because it is, you know, it does look like bricks, right? And if you look at any images of igloos, they're not going to make the little pieces of ice that small. I don't think. Now, I did, yes. But it just gives it that realism that I'm trying to get on here, in a sense, because I did some cool things with the penguin I think you're going to like as well, to get that dimension and to have it stand up and really come off the page. Yeah, you know what I'm doing there? I'm wondering whether I should put that shaker element on the bottom of the igloo so that you can look down in and see fish underneath the ice. That's what I was looking at. But I thought, you know what? It's going to take away from the focal point, which is the penguin. So I let it go. Just let it go, Carol. Yeah, do it in another project. You can always, oh yeah, excuse me, you're walking on my igloo there. You knew I was doing that, didn't you? Sorry if you hear a little bit of crackling. I'm going to try and keep my computer still while I'm trying to edit. Anyway, I was just listening to that and I heard it. So let's carry on. I'm adding a little bit of water also to hold it down, because when you see what we do to keep it all in contact, you're not going to worry about it at this stage of the game. But you are going to worry about getting some weight on it so that it gets that 3D look without having to raise it up off your card. Now, on that piece of cardstock, while I'm putting more Nouveau down and adding some texture paste to it, I thought I'd add some texture with the blue. So I have some blue down on the bricks and some blue up on the little pieces that we added. And I know you're going to enjoy doing a project like this, especially for a young child's birthday. I think it looks a little more masculine when I get finished it, but you could add different colored papers and give it to, you know, a girl. So here we go. Now, I'm just making sure that this stays down for now, but I decided to, I'm hoping it's right here, to grab some of this paper I had. No, I guess it's not now. I'm kind of thinking, get some more bricks down, Carol. And all you have to do with this is just add glue or your texture paste, whatever. As long as it sticks on there for now, you're fine. So over top of this, to just add the bulk and to keep the bricks from coming up, I added some collage paper. Now it's that tissue paper with the weave of linen through it. I'm not sure exactly what you call this. I do, and I can't think of it. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. I have it in all different colored sheets, 8.5 by 11. So I always keep it. It's great for doing any type of mixed media project as well. And then you can see when I add the water, you can see through it. But after making a little tear in this, it dawned on me, I want to tear some of it to look more vintage, because the front of the card is kind of vintagey, if that's a word, but it adds an element of realism to it later on. So I'll show you what I mean. I make a little mistake of tearing it, and those mistakes are happy mistakes because it ended up looking more real as I tore some of that tissue collage paper off of it. So I guess I'm taking a break here because nothing is happening on this edit to see what exactly I'm going to do here. And oh, I went and grabbed some of the same color turquoise blue Distress Stain, and I'm putting it over top of this because I lost some of the Nouveau look underneath because it was much lighter. So you end up having the two tones of blue, which is lovely, and then some more of the translucent texture paste from Dreamweaver. I put it right over top because it is going to dry clear, and yeah, nice look. I want to get this a little uneven as well when I remove the stencil, but you can see I am covering most of the brick with it. And I think it was more so to tone down that blue color. You're going to see that, isn't that gorgeous? I really do think it is a nice looking igloo in the making, don't you? And because we're going to use a front piece, you know, so they have two levels of their home, and there's that panel. Remember the 12 by 12, we cut it in 4. Well, this is the second piece to that. It has the brick on it already. It has the glitter on the top. And at the end of the video, you'll see how lovely this just complements one another with this panel with the XOXO on there. That beautiful glittered stencil at the top kind of represents stars and sky. And then the bottom has the brick, so when you look into the igloo, you can see brick on the inside as well. So it really was meant to be. So I'm drying it up somewhat, and I'm trying to see, okay, how much problem am I going to have there? And then I went ahead and started ripping. I know you're probably thinking, what? And I was kind of thinking the same thing right away until I realized that you're not going to see most of the lower third, and the upper third we're going to cut it to the right. So it all worked out well. It did. Put that back, Carol. You don't want to take that up. Right, yes. See, I can tell just looking at my own edit what I'm going to do at times. So here we are after I show you how much love I am putting into this little home for my penguin, where I'm going to try and get it situated and look somewhat like an igloo. I needed the height, let's put it that way. So I didn't have enough brick to really round it out. So it does have that somewhat oval look because the card base, I only have so much space to work with. And I left it reasonably in this shape. And then we're going to add the lower portion. I had to narrow it out because we do have to fit our little penguin on the side. And here I wasn't quite sure yet what my little penguin was going to do. You'll know when I get that idea. Here's the doorway I'm going to cut in. And then it doesn't matter if this is really accurate because another portion is coming on. So you're not even going to see it. You just want to make sure that there is an entryway here. So I'm going to grab the base right here just to see whether I'm going to put my penguin on the left or the right. And as I place it down shortly, here it is, I'm going to need to see that brick, right? And so I didn't want to use up my brick space on the left for the penguin to cover. So I slide it over, and then I use the space that has nothing on it actually on the right hand side for our little penguin. And when I went to my stash, I found something to add to the penguin. You're going to love it. It's just so cute. So here we go. So what I did first here is I stamped stamp number 1. It's a 3-step stage stamp. Say that 10 times, right? So I went to number 3 and I put the VersaFine detail black ink on there and I pressed it down. And I did this twice because you want to get it as black as possible. So I went about it again with the VersaFine and I stamped it out with my Fiskar stamp press because I can see through this very well. And I stamped it again to get it nice and black, and then you're going to heat set it just to be sure it's all dry because we're going to add Versamark to it. Now the Versamark, what's neat about this is we're going to add white embossing powder, and that is what's going to set this image to look like real fur, if you want to call their fur, feathers, whatever. It's going to make it look realistic, and you'll see that when we stamp out this with the VersaFine. And I kept it slow just to show you how pretty it looks and when you do this concept. So now comes the Versamark, and you put it over top of that really black ink. And then you're going to get out your detailed white embossing powder. Any white embossing powder actually will work on this because it's going to be in the foreground. It's going to be in the background. You're not going to see, you're not going to worry, let me say, about whether it's detailed fine or chunky white. It will look great just as long as it's done in white. So there it is, like that's heat set. And isn't that amazing? Then you're going to take number 2, the second level stamp, and you're going to stamp that with the black, and you're going to go back again and you're going to put some more black on there so that this white embossed goes in the background. The white embossing powder, it just sets the image off to look 3D and realistic actually. Each time you're going to just clean off the stamp and stamp it again. And then I'm coming back with the 3rd level here. So I'm just looking at it to make sure. It's going to be hard to see because you're stamping over top of the white. So then I stamp it with black again, and then I'm going in with the VersaFine and adding it once again to the top. So this way you have stamp number 2 and stamp number 3. You've done it with the black, the VersaFine, and then the white embossing powder, and it gives you this look of having these really minute feathers. It's so sweet in real life. I can't even tell you enough. And then once you get it cleaned off, you're going to make sure that you stamp it. You can see level 1, 2, and 3 going down the right-hand side. Then I'm going to grab that sheet right here that I made the second part just to make my small igloo so I could get everything into proportion in my mind. I cleaned all my stamps off, and then I'm going to turn this over on my stamp pad right here. It's going to give me some poofiness. I took my stylus. I'm trying to think of what this thing is. It's a stylus. And I took the fine end just to make the line around the edges so that I could take a nice, actually this is my Wilton cake set, and it has wonderful plastic stylus shapes in there. And I took the smaller one here, and I'm really indenting this penguin so that it stands out 3D when I put it beside the igloo. And you can see it. I tried to get it so you could zoom it. I could zoom it in enough. And then when you heat set it, it actually rises even more. So that is a wonderful concept if you're looking to make something really, I'm trying to show you there how cool that looks. Just by taking your stylus and pressing it inside the image. Now I was going to cut this out, but I was worried about having that white line, and I thought, you know what, I've got it pressed so embedded in there. Yeah, now I'm grabbing the larger tool here, and I'm just going to give it another go, put it back in the case. These are wonderful, the Wilton set, to have on hand, because I like the plastic, the feel of the plastic on the end. And then I'm going to take my tiny scissors here, my little stork scissors, and I'm going to go around the edge and make sure it's right up to the image line. And right there, you can see that I snipped it too close, but it works out well because of what I'm going to put in his hand. So I set that off to the side. I actually cut off the end of his little hand there so that I could glue it next to what I'm putting there. I want to surprise you there at the end. Now I had this little silver sheet that I kept out of some packaging, and I'm going to just mimic a pair of skate blades for the bottom on his feet, because I'm going to make it so that he's holding, yes, little B makes these hockey sticks with a puck. It's so cute. And the puck has an H on the end. See how I cut his hand off there? But that's so I can set the puck inside his little furry hand. So I took my black marker, any black marker will do, to go around the edges so you don't see any of the white cardstock. And you can see how that white powder, like the embossing powder, made such a difference to make it look 3D. You don't have that real flat look. So here come my skate blades that I just, cut out freehand so that it looked like he had some skates on. You don't have much room to work with because his little feet are so small. And then I just wiped off the excess glue on here, and it dried clear, so it worked out perfectly well. And now I'm going back. I want to use my smallest stylus here just to embed it for the last time before I put it on the page. It works out perfectly this way. Just give it one last time on your mouse pad or whatever pad you use just to get the indent in it. You can see how much indent it has because I can see the penguin on my mouse pad, on my Stampin' Up pad there. And I used the Versamark and the basic gray Stampin' Up and the VersaFine black ink in the image here. Next, I'm just going to grab my Zig Clean Color pens just to go over those areas of white, because I looked online and I saw that some penguins have a little bit of orange and yellow. So I tried to just put it on and put it with my hand, my finger. And I thought, no, that's not going to work, Carol. There they are there. Beautiful colors. I just took a light yellow and a light orange, added it to a few spaces, and now I'm working on putting the igloo together. And then he's going to stand actually on the right side, but I need to cut the front off of this card base. Going to put everything away, I think, and yeah, cut another entryway. I wasn't sure if I wanted to make it so they had a door entry, but I have never seen an igloo that had an igloo door. I don't know, they may, but I haven't. So what I did was I took a little layer off the back of this because I'm going to add double-sided Scotch tape to the back. So I just took a couple of layers off to make it thinner because this is going to be in front of the main image. And then I'm going to have the penguin off to the right hand side with a hockey stick in his hand. And there you go, bring it in there. And you can see that I did glue it with the Nuvo glue. And this is to hold the layers down. So I just went around wherever, just on the outside edge. You don't have to worry about the inside. Just put any type of glue. And then I had these gems. They're called, I think it's Perfect Gems or something like that. It's made by Faber-Castell. I'll leave the name of it on my blog. And they're really nice. I know it's called something gems. I'm sorry I'm not where it is. I should have held it up longer. But it made the ice on the brick, it made the Igloo bricks look icy. Say that 10 times too. And then I'm going in with this snow applique, and I'm getting right down to the bottom, and I'm cutting the nib off so I can get quite a bit out. This one was on its last leg, but I was going to get as much of it out as possible. I love this stuff because when you heat it up, it comes perfectly white like snow. And I only did the odd places where I thought the snow would fall and rest. Isn't that something? I just love this stuff. Yeah, it's good to have around because it makes wonderful like snow grounds and snowballs and all kinds of neat stuff with this applique. And yeah, so that just about covered it. And see how when the entrance to the second part of the igloo, I figured that I wanted that to look like it was standing out, so I made it lighter than the background. I made left the background dark looking and then had the front of it a little lighter, and hopefully that will give it some yeah. And then I made the snow background behind him with those gems from Faber-Castell. I added double-sided tape only on the right-hand side of the penguin because it is out on the left-hand side. Here's that wonderful hockey stick made by Little Bee, I think it is. Yes, it is Little Bee. I just wanted to check. And it's texture gems made by Faber-Castell. That is what I use to make the igloo look wet. I bought that to make dewdrops when I make flowers to put on the petals, and it worked wonderfully on the igloo because it made those little brick things look wet and just like ice. And then I added the little piece to the side of his little arm there, just making sure because I had to stand it up with some double-sided tape, a teensy-weensy piece of it. So I'm trying to manipulate it there, put some glue underneath, and then off and on, I just, yeah, it's not sticking. It eventually does. I just work with it. It's such a tiny piece to get it to stick in the right direction there. Yeah, every time I lift the scissors up, it came with me. So, yeah, patience is a virtue. And, yeah, here we go. Back at it again. Sometimes to get just what you want, you have to just let it rest, let it dry. I'm adding some more of the applique, the snow applique there, heat setting it, and I don't think I could be without this. I just think whoever invented this, it was quite the invention, don't you think? Like, look at it. It looks like fallen snow, and he's got his, of course, I'm from Canada, so hockey, oh yes. And I'm adding a little bit by his foot, just like there was a snowfall, kind of like stepping back. And I love the way you look in the igloo door and you can see the bricks from the piece that we cut in 4 from the 12 by 12 layout. I think it does add a little something something, and I love the way this penguin looks, but it needed a beak. It also needed an eye to stand off the page. So I took my enamel accents in the white and then I added some black in the middle, and he's starting to take on his own look. But with all of the stamping and the embossing, I lost the little beak image, and I thought he could use one that really stood off his face. So I just took some black that was left over from that sheet of paper and cut a little beak. Look at the difference of just adding a longer beak, because some penguins have longer beaks than others, and I thought it would look kind of cute to have this one with his beak open. Yeah, I think I'm going to fuss with this. No, not too much, like I did the little arm piece. So now I'm going to do the bottom. No, I'm going to cut it. Yeah. I did this card last week, and I have been working on this edit a little bit a day when I found a little bit of time to come in and do my voiceover. So that's why I kind of forget what I was doing. If I don't do the edit right away, this is what happens. But I took a little bit of my Nouveau and I made his beak look like he was yak, and look at that, going, yoo-hoo, scored a goal, yay! I was going to put this die cut that I had. Yeah, I'm taking one of my longer sewing needles and just making sure it's exactly where I want it. And I know I'm given to detail. I understand that. But it's just the way my mind works. So I just run with it. The only thing that I wish I didn't do is right here. I added orange and this mustardy yellow and then black. The card was completed. It ended up being 6 1/4 by 6 3/4 with all the elements on it. And here I knew I'd have to score at least 1/4 of an inch on the top. I wanted the front of the card to be white and I wanted the back to be black because the penguin was black. So I went with the white and black, and I wanted to have a little border. So I just cut this off even. I had a lot to work, an extra 1/4 of an inch to work with. So once I got my score tool out, I love the Martha Stewart mini score tool for cards. It's wonderful. And then I went over one line to give me a tiny little gusset. I like to do that when I have a lot of elements on the front. And I picked the orange and the yellow because that was the color in the penguin. But when I got finished, I really wish I had have done navy blue and light blue to match the Igloo as far as the border is concerned. Here's where I'm putting on some tape. So you just put, I didn't grab my 1/4 of an inch. I must have grabbed my 1/8 of an inch. Now, one thing I did differently here is I decided to put my Nuvo glue over top of my double-sided tape. That way I had some give, some leeway to manipulate the cardstock, because so many times I have put it down and could not get it back up because the double-sided tape is so sticky. So I thought, why not put some liquid glue over top of that and see if it will give you that leeway to move it, and it sure did. So I'll be doing that in the future. Then I took my distress tool. After I cut this little bit off, I needed a little bit of room there. I went over the edges of the yellow and the orange just to give it a little bit of distressed look. I always go for that, as you know. And then I placed it down with only a tad of the orange showing. I don't use orange hardly at all. That's probably why I've had this Stampin' Up! Cardstock for ages. And then I seat it down in there and I put the white up there. And it does show the orange in the penguin, which is nice. I added some Nuvo to get it placed in there, so I had a little bit of movement once again. And here you have it. So I distressed the edges once again to get a nice distressed look. Put everything I could away, and now I took out my Daisine tag dies because they have those nice little stitches on them, and I was going to run a tag down the right hand, but I thought, no, you know what? First we'll work on the little penguin on the inside. So I took my VersaFine, went to stamp it, and you notice I put the stamp on the lid of my Versamark. Is that hysterical? And I didn't press it hard enough. It would have worked. I just didn't press it hard enough, and look, his head's missing. So I took a baby wipe and I just took it right off, and here you go. I like to have the thick cardstock base on each side, right? The lid was outweighing the bottom, so this worked out perfect once again. Mistakes always work out for some reason, don't they? You end up getting a better perspective the second time. So I took another piece of my 140-pound cardstock and I actually put this beautiful Wow Sparkle Black on the inside penguin. I just loved it once I heat set it. And then I went and grabbed the second stage stamp right here. Once I stamped this, I decided to go with my Recollections Gray, and it has this nice metallic look to it, which I really, really liked. And it matched the front. I kind of slowed it down so you could see the look that it gave it. And yeah, there it is. And it's just the Recollections you get at Michael's. It looks beautiful. Has some metallic to the gray, which when you put it in the light, right there, see that? Isn't that awesome? Then once I get, just in case there was any glitter left on my Versamark, just cleaned it up. Then I distressed the edges, and I got the weight on the inside that I always like. That is wonderful too. So I grabbed my 1/2 inch ATG, put some of the liquid so I have some movability, how's that, on this to put it down. And then I'm going to put some snow on the bottom to cover his feet so I don't have to make any skates for the bottom. So I just took the leftover. I'm telling you, I am using this up. And then I made kind of like a little hill for my little penguin. And I thought, how cute would one of these pucks look in his hand on the right side? So, and those pucks have the letter H in them, which is obviously my last name, H. So it's nice to give to my grandson on his birthday. And then here are my sponge black thickers. Love these. And I thought, how cool would it be to put so cool? Yeah, so as you have time to think these things out, it does come together. And I have been trying to use up stock in my craft room, and I love thickers, and I love these sponge ones. They're beautiful. So I put so, and then I'm doing cool, but guess what? It's not so cool because when I get to the bottom, my L doesn't fit. But because I don't press them down at the beginning, very hard, I was able to manipulate that L in there beautifully, and so cool. And it's just a fun card to make. I'm glad I had that piece from the 12 by 12 that we made, and it came together. And then on his left hand there, you can just put the number of the birthday that's represented. So my next birthday for my grandson will be 4. So I put a number 4, but you could always lift it up if something, some kind of a birthday emergency comes up where somebody needs a card. Take the 4 off and put the number in there. So there you have it. Thank you as always for joining me on my tutorials, and you have yourself a blessed week. And I hope you give the Igloo a try. I think you'll really like it. So I left some pictures, and I appreciate all your comments, your thumbs up, and everything we do on YouTube. And I appreciate you, my subscribers. Take care, everybody.